Anything mind-blowing?
How relatable it is. Absolutely, because I think when we all hear group, I was like, oh, that's wonky. I don't need that. I can do it. I can do it.
Welcome back to American Traddiction, a journey of breaking carb addiction. This week, Michelle visits her first support group meeting. She follows a common American belief that support groups are for other people until she attends one.
Yes, that was definitely the truth. I learned that other people struggle with the exact same things that I struggle with, and they said it without me telling them.
Right. You know, without a support group, you're headed for failure. The simple ability to talk about similar problems awakens the realization that the problem exists. The common American tradition of carb addiction connects all those attending the support group.
Well, I think that's big, breaking the cycle. That's what you're doing. That was that moment that I said, that's what addiction looks like. To be able to just to say, okay, it's in his diet, and we may not even need to visit for medicine, that was huge.
Let's begin. So today we are going to start our meeting. And again, I try to explain a few things to those that are new. Support groups are not meant to be intimidating. Support groups are meant to be supportive. And that means that when you show up, there are a few rules that I think are really important. First of all, we want this to be educational. We want you to tell people what goes on at group. We just don't want you to tell people what goes on at group using an identity. So the anonymity of coming to a group and saying, I screwed up and I had, chocolate cake, heroin, whatever it is that you had, that you've had a mess up, that you feel comfortable coming and saying, oh, this sucks, it's hard for me, I'm trying again. That culture we are trying to create, that it is safe to talk about the struggle because that's where you learn. Years of doing addiction medicine have taught me that I usually lead by example, showing that even though my screw-ups didn't look anything like what the addiction people were struggling with, the letters I would get years later were all about, it was so comforting to see your flaws. That part is where they learn. The second thing is that veterans, you are in charge. The people who've been coming the longest, we like you to show the culture to the newbies. I've seen more groups ruined by trying to be so welcoming to the newbies that the veterans got ignored. Now, I'm guilty of that on Zoom because I really do believe they will see the connection between the people here and the veterans lead first. When newbies come, they have the same questions that all of us have had. They're going to find the answers. What we want them seeing is you're not the only one with those questions. And there's a reward, if you would, for participating once you've been coming a while. But the culture is taught not by my rules, but by the way the veterans behave. And the third one is that when you see somebody that you know the answer to their problem, it isn't to say you should. Instead, use your own example. I've struggled with that. I've seen other people do this. Here's what I did. But when you reflect on what you did, instantly their mirror neurons are going to pick up and learn on that. So with that, I would like to introduce my sister-in-law, Michelle.
Hello.
Jesse, my brother, is an ICU nurse. His wife is a nurse as well, and they have lived in Tennessee for the last 20-ish years, and they are moving to the farm. I know, I'm so excited. I just have goosebumps to say, welcome to South Dakota. Yeah. So I am going to do an introduction or propose what it is I do at most meetings, which is we're going to do a check-in. So the check-in is a little bit of what I've offered online, kind of giving you some foreshadowing to think about it. But as you look at a support group and you come to the support group, especially my veterans, I'd like you to share what is the benefit of a support group. But I'll begin by saying, what is it that I get out of these meetings? This is, as you know, a free thing I do for I call it my community. One of the many things my mother imprinted, which was give and you will receive. You got to start with the give. So this is my give. This is my give to my community to say, what is the example that I would love to have happening in many communities across the country? And that is get around a table, talk about the flaws that happen when you're trying to change behavior, and then be the grace that God has given you to other people. Who would like to check in first?
Hi, my name's Renee, and I've been keto a little over a year. And the first year was just learning, and then you come, and then it's just a whole new, your mind is open to all that. But the best thing about group is just to see that, and what I appreciate so much about Dr. Boz is that she was so understanding and forgiving and made it to seem possible,
Right.
know, because I'm a perfectionist in a way.
Mm-hmm.
And then if you messed up, I was like, well, you just want to scrap the whole thing, because if you can't do it perfect, you didn't want to do it.
Oh,
But then on the other hand then you felt alone if you don't come to group. And then with group, then you got the support and the mirror neuron. And then, so then the other part was that when you do mess up, you think, well, it's not the end of the world.
right. There's
You know.
there's an answer there. Absolutely.
Right, and that's what you learn most about group, is that you just see that everybody struggles.
Mm-hmm.
That you're not the only one in the world that struggles, and yeah.
Right.
So
Okay, so I'm going to give Michelle a chance, our newbie, to at least introduce herself, and then she has a question that I really do want you guys to share how you've approached it. So I'll let her lead.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for having me today. Again, my name is Michelle, and my question for you would be finding an accountability partner. What did that look like for you, and how did you do it, and how did that work out?
Where you found your accountability partner? How do you create one?
I've been struggling with weight for a while, and Steve brought me in, and he'd done tremendous, lost a lot of weight, and we still meet every Wednesday morning and have breakfast, and it's always a couple of eggs with a lot of bacon.
Amen. Amen.
You got to have someone to talk to.
Amen. It's a really big deal. It's a really big deal.
I don't care what it is. If you're collecting cars or whatever, you got to have somebody to talk to about it, just to make your life better.
So you found your accountability partner in your life, so in the relationships you already had,
Yeah.
and you found somebody who had an example that you said, I want what he's got,
Yeah.
right? Okay, pass it to Jeannie.
I got the book, got the course, started doing it, and just kind of stayed quiet about it because I didn't want to say the word keto to anybody.
Right? My
And
husband doesn't like
but what I have, when it was kind of a game changer when I came here, because then getting in the group on Facebook, when I first started checking my numbers, when I put that up there, it was like immediate responses back from people, which was so nice. So that just kind of puts a shot in your arm to keep going. And
Confidence,
it's like,
right.
oh gosh, this is really nice. Maybe I'll, now I'm going to start coming to this group more. And then I was getting braver to start telling people that, because people started saying, are you losing weight? And I'm like, yeah, I think I am. I didn't get on the scale for probably a month 2 months after I started this, because I was just trying to feel good on the inside.
Right.
Thanksgiving was a big thing because we went down to Omaha, and a lot of people were like, they hadn't seen me since summer.
Right, family
And they were-
stuff is there, right?
So
they know you
and
from
they were
history.
like, what? And I said, I've lost about 40 pounds. And then they wanted to listen. And then they wanted to get the information. And so being able to feel a little more confident because of the group, now I feel like I can share it and with them, and when they have questions, it feels good to be able to help them.
Right.
And then I come here or go on the Facebook group and get my questions answered so I can be helpful to them. So it feels really good to be able to help people with the encouragement of this group.
That is like that is exactly what I was trying to do with this group. I'm not kidding. Not only did she have a place to go to get the beginning steps, but then as she healed, she became the best advertisement that this is what health looks like. And I really hate in South Dakota, as soon as they get to the body mass index that is in the green, the normal, people start saying, you're too skinny, no, you're not, this is normal, people. Your brain has been warped by everybody who's overweight. The other part that has been instrumental, that was an idea in my mind, saying I can't answer all these questions. I have to teach the people how to answer the questions, which is really what that neurons group, I started out thinking I was just gonna market to keto coaches. And then I'm like, everybody's a keto coach. So just have the people go in, that they can put the questions in, and then I just get to check the answers of the coaches. And that really has taken the burden off of, I'd never be able to write a book if I was to answer all the questions. that process of saying, get the right information out, get more people checking the right information, and then as she is able to answer them with confidence to the people around her that are watching her, it becomes a ripple effect that now she's the Dr. Boz of her family. And that's amazing. That's exactly what I was imagining and praying, God help me figure this out. I'm gonna exhaust myself if I can't find a solution. So powerful. So in the beginning, where was your accountability? Where was your support group? And it's okay to be completely truthful about if you hit it like you did.
Probably the book and the course.
Okay.
Really, because I didn't, my husband, he's always been very supportive, but he didn't understand it either. I lived by the book and by the course because it gave me that shot of encouragement.
So as Michelle looks into a new community where her relationships are, just budding, and she's stepping into a community where she's got a lot of history around her as far as the family goes, but now has a place of how do I begin? I've of course invited her to this group. She's been part of this group for a while, but it's been the ancillary. I can look at that if I need to. The engagement in the group is what's really valuable here. And then when we close up, if you feel connected or if you want to do it on Facebook, just to be part of her support system as we welcome her into South Dakota, but also into our keto group.
First meeting was awesome. I heard a lot of similarities to my own, so very relatable. I think it adds a layer of accountability and support, and I look forward to finding my spot for sure.
So from what you had in your mind to what actually goes on at a keto support group, what do you think is anything mind-blowing?
How relatable it is, absolutely, because I think when we all hear, or when I hear group, I was like, oh, that's wonky, I don't need that, I can do it, I can do it, because I take care of everybody else, so I can do it. But, I heard the word perfectionist mentioned, and I'm like, oh, God, that's me.
Right.
Yeah, it's all or nothing. So when you're doing this, and when you have those slip-ups, and you make a mistake, you're like, oh, well, I've done screwed it up.
Right.
Yeah.
It's over. It's done. That the practice of the first people who taught me about what's the key to these support groups, and this was probably 15 years ago at least, was you're practicing grace. And I kept thinking, it's not faith-based. And then I'm like, oh, but pretty much life is. Life has this moment where you're going to either use the spiritual component of mankind, or, and I don't mean to make it religious, but I do mean to hear that there's this moment where you have to learn something. It is a spiritual moment. And I'm not talking religion. I'm saying that connection to say, let me show you, and no strings attached, no fee, no group, just I'm on a journey. There's no way to force the journey. That spirituality is this thing that happens that you can feel it. I always think it's interesting to hear the perspective of a first time in a group, because what you see, I'm sure I don't see anymore. So you felt welcome, and that's a big deal.
Oh, absolutely. Very well, and connected.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a connection here that happens when you share life.
Yes, it's a big deal.
That makes a big difference, because you're going, oh, I can relate to that.
Right.
Oh, I've been there, I'm still doing that. Or,
Right.
oh, I heard somebody say that they've kind of, been waning in and out of keto and not cleaned out the cupboards. I'm like, oh, I just did that, and what a help that was.
So, such a big deal too, because that other rule I have where newbies don't get to check in, it's because it took me a while to create that culture of sharing, of honesty, of grace, and you can see that float away when a newbie shows up and doesn't know the rules. But now that you've seen that, you understand the importance. Like, I don't have to tell newbies that's important. They can see what's happening, and it's way better than a rule book. So veterans check in first, newbies watch. As much as that sounds like harsh, not welcoming, that's not true. I'm trying to teach you, and there's a lot of newbies that walk through the door one time. And if they're wrecking your meeting constantly, you're not sustainable. So it's the other reason to say, just stay the course, watch, and then let them check in as they've shown up.
I bet that was the first time you looked inside a support group. I want to thank all those that attended that day. Your courage to share your story really helps others to see attending a support group is really not that scary. Be sure to give this video a thumbs up if you found the support group to be different than you anticipated.
And be sure to tune in next week to see the biggest moment in my journey thus far.